All right, folks, we're all set. Let the May 2020 Brookhaven Borough Council meeting come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor, do you have the list?
He's on mute.
Oh, hold on. Mr. Mayor, can you hear us?
I guess we're gonna be seated.
I think he muted himself. Hold on one second.
How about now?
I can hear you now, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, let's have a moment of silence for our recently deceased Brookhaven residents and for all those who have passed away due to the coronavirus. Joanne Bromley. Laura Brokey. Cheryl Ann Brannon. Margaret Doolin. That's all that I'm aware of, but may God rest their souls. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have anyone from public discussion? Do we have anyone from public discussion? All right, keep in mind there is another session at the end of the meeting.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dunaway here. How you doing today?
How are you, sir?
Okay. Listen, just two quick things that I wanted to cover.
Vaughn, let me mute everyone and unmute you. Give me one moment.
Okay.
One moment. All right, go ahead, Vaughn. There's too much background noise.
Okay. Just two quick things. I viewed the workshop, and you were talking about paving Swiftwater Lane. And as you know, at the end of last season, that's what I wanted to do too.
Yes.
What I'm going to do is suggest that Mr. Catania check with the Public Works Department, because when we went in to look at that sanitary sewer, we found pieces of the sewer in the sanitary. And I don't know how bad that was, but that is something that we wanted to repair before we paved.
Okay.
So my message would be to have him check with the Public Works team and see what's needed to be done so that we can actually get that street paved and not worry about it after we pave it. That's the first item. The second item is about the parade. What we're going to do is go ahead and mail out participation letters, and we'll have a caveat in there that we may not have it. We still don't know what's going on, and try to get people to set a date for next year so that we don't lose everybody that we have. So those are two items that I wanted to cover tonight. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vaughn. Charles, did you get that about Swiftwater? All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Curtin, Chief Curtin.
All right. Good morning, Mr. President. For the police chief's report for April 2020, we had just two arrests, which is not a bad thing. One was an adult, one was a juvenile. The juvenile was for 5 charges for breaking into a vehicle. We're working on a second offender from that incident down on Williamson. We had 11 total thefts. 5 were retail. 1 was theft from a motor vehicle. That's the arrest I just spoke of. And 5 were other thefts, mostly fraud. Performed during the month. As you would expect, our motor vehicle encounters, our citations were decreased. We had 13 citations issued, 2 parking tickets, and we investigated 13 collisions. There was no training this month. There's no workplace safety meeting. Officers continue to do high visibility patrols in both the neighborhoods and the shopping centers alike. And we also engaged with the fire department in several birthday drive-by celebrations to try, mostly for children, and trying to bring goodwill to them, since they cannot necessarily have parties. We're continuing our many COVID-19 protective measures that we've already put in place and that I've spoken of. And the department and/or all vehicles were disinfected, decontaminated 5 times during the month of April. So I'm trying to stay on top of that on a weekly basis and making sure my officers are as healthy as possible, give them the best chance to stay COVID-free. And that's my report.
Playing with
There's no sound, Terry.
And no sound, Terry. Got nothing.
Terry, we can't hear you.
Terry's muted.
Can't hear you.
Somehow I got muted. All right, Chief Montella, go ahead.
Okay,
I love Zoom, let me tell you.
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Brookhaven Fire Company's monthly report for April 2020. We had 3 fire incidents, 16 non-fire, 11 mutual aid, 1 drill for 31 for the month. We had no loss on structure or contents in the borough for the month. Our call volume, 31 calls, average of 12 firefighters. We were in service for 161 hours. 1 training session, 14 members for 60 hours of training. And we responded to the following incidents in Brookhaven Borough. We had a building fire at Traditions at Ridley Creek, Building 3. Gas leak at Stonehill Apartments in Building F. We had a gas leak at the 6300 building in Hilltop Summit. And we had 3 accidents, 352 on Brookhaven Road, 1 at Brookhaven and Bridgewater Road, and 1 at Mount Vernon and Upland Road. We assisted Rocky Run Fire Company on a building fire at the Riddle Glen condos. We also assisted Garden City Fire Company on a building fire at Todd Morton Drive. We assisted Upland Fire Company on an accident at 21st Street and Upland Avenue, and assisted the Chester Township Fire Company on a building fire on the 1200 block of Elson Road. Brookhaven Fire Company spent a month on going over on training procedures, protocols for COVID-19, social distancing practices, best practices, and also we keep constantly deconning and disinfecting the station and the vehicles. Brookhaven Fire Company had 2 EMS personnel with the COVID-19 exposure on 4/24/20. Brookhaven Fire Company is currently working with the Chester County Department of Health, and we filled out all the proper paperwork for the first responder exposure protocol. Paperwork for our personnel was filled out, and we were in touch with Chester County Department on Health for the procedures and protocols for having our personnel properly treated. So our exposure to our people, we're approximately 12 days into it now. The one person is getting better in quarantine. The other person is his vitals and all his temperature and vital information that he needs to be taken for the Department of Health is currently right on target. So he's in good shape and almost out of the bad window frame of time. So we're looking pretty good. They're all getting better, so that's a good sign. Our ambulance report for April 2020, we had 128 ambulance calls, 83 transports, 89 local alarms, 39 mutual aid calls for a total of 532. I will keep that report at that. I did issue you guys a weekly report basically on the number of people we transported as suspected COVID patients and how many actually were confirmed each week. So you guys should be getting that in emails. I usually give a weekly report. So you guys should have them and know where we stand with as far as who we're transporting and where we're operating at. That concludes my report. Thank you,
Our
Mr.
numbers
President.
are 31 positive COVID in Brookhaven with 2 deaths as of today. So we had that big leap last week and it's kind of crept up. Nothing really to be alarmed about, but you know, 1 death is too many. Chief Curtin, you wanted to come back with one more item?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I just wanted to mention real quick, I mentioned Williamson, we had the thefts from vehicles. Consistently in my previous place of employment and here, 80 to 90% of the thefts from vehicles incidents are from vehicles that are unlocked. They are not forced entry into these vehicles. I need the residents to help us help you. I need the residents to be reminded and make sure that they lock their vehicles each and every day and night and don't take anything for granted. Even though Brookhaven's a safe place, please don't take it for granted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wells with the solicitor's report.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. The solicitor's report was forwarded to Borough Council earlier today. There are a couple of action items I want to go through with Borough Council.
Mr. Wells, hold on,
Yes.
hold on 1 moment. Hold on. Okay, continue. We had some background noise.
Yes. Article number 9 concerning subdivision and land development fee schedule. The borough engineer and I have recently reviewed the present fee schedule for the submission and review of subdivision and land development applications with the borough. We are of the collective opinion that the fee schedule is inadequate, offset the cost of review and preparation of documents by the borough engineer, by the borough zoning officer, any outside borough consultants, as well as the solicitor's office. And therefore, we are jointly recommending the adoption of a new fee schedule by Borough Council. A copy of that resolution was provided to Borough Council earlier. And therefore, if it is the pleasure of Borough Council to adopt that new fee schedule, a motion would be in order to adopt the resolution.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
You can't hear me anyway.
Ms. Sawicki, you had a,
I said I made the motion 10 minutes before anybody else, and you never hear me.
well, you were muted because of the background noise, so it's okay.
There's nobody in this room with me. It can't
Well,
be back.
you must be doing something. So, okay,
I'm not
Mrs.
doing
Sawicki's
anything.
made the motion. Who, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
My motion carries. Continue on, Mr. Wells.
Great. Second item concerned the Dunkin' Donuts land development application.
Right.
I have consulted with engineer Catania, treasurer McDade, as well as conducting a thorough review of the borough's land development file with Dunkin' Donuts. And there does not appear to be a written resolution adopted by Borough Council approving this land development plan, despite the fact that an affirmative vote was purportedly taken by Borough Council back in November of 2018. I'm highly recommending that, again, all approvals for subdivision land development applications should be memorialized in a written resolution, clearly delineating, all the conditions under which the approval was granted. In the event the borough is required to take an enforcement action against the developer because he is deviating from the plan approval, a written resolution is, again, very highly desirable, and that's something what the courts generally look for if there's a question of plan deviation. And therefore, I have prepared, again, in consultation with the Borough Engineer's Office, a resolution approving the final land development and subdivision plan for Dunkin' Donuts. It's subject to a whole list of enumerated conditions. Again, if it is the pleasure of Borough Council to adopt such a resolution, then a motion would be in order at this time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, I think the reason it wasn't adopted before was because we were waiting for PennDOT to give us approval of the in and out on Edgemont Avenue because it took a long time, and I don't remember ever receiving any paperwork that they approved it, Jay. And Vaughn might remember, but
Isn't
I
there
don't- I don't-
out on that street?
we never got it.
I'm with Janice and Vaughn. I have no memory of such. And what Janice said does ring a bell.
I think that's why we never did the resolution, because we didn't have all the paperwork.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that's how it went.
Can somebody contact PennDOT?
Let me ask Charles. Charles, were they required to get a highway occupancy permit
Yes.
for this particular land development plan?
Yeah, we made them.
Is Charles still on the meeting?
Is Charles there?
Yep. You need to unmute him,
He is,
Terry.
he's muted.
Muted.
Hang on a minute.
Yes,
There
they
you
need
go.
a PennDOT.
Hey, this
Have
isn't
obtained
easy
the
playing
same.
disc jockey with the mutes. Charles, are you there?
I am, but apparently, can you hear me?
Now we can. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, a PennDOT permit was required, and yes, a PennDOT permit was obtained.
Okay.
Okay.
I've never seen it. All right. So it's in and out. It was in one side and out the other exit, and they went around the building for the pickup. That's my understanding. That's what it always was.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the plan that's recently fallen in my lap. And again, trying to reconstruct the approval process. Yeah, there was never anything in writing, but there were emails going back and forth between the former engineer and the former solicitor saying that on November 26th of 2018, there was purportedly that Borough Council had made granting the land development approval process. Again, but no written resolution. Again, I think it's good practice. Every land development subdivision application, we want a written resolution. We want to memorialize all the conditions, make sure our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. So again, if we have a developer that's deviates from that plan approval process, we can certainly take an enforcement action and make sure we correct that.
Did you need a motion, Jay?
Yes, yes. So we would ask
I'll
a
make
motion and a
the motion.
second.
I'll make
I'll
We have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Vasquez, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any questions? All right. Continue on, Jay.
Other than that, I can report general progress, Mr. President.
Repeat that, Jay. I didn't hear what you said.
Other than that, I can report general progress, Mr. President.
Okay. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, yes, it
All right.
does.
I'm having some trouble hearing you. I can't wait to get back to the council room. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank the many Brookhaven residents who came out last evening at 7 p.m. to honor our hometown heroes and the businesses with Bells Across Pennsylvania Day. It was well represented, but again, I want to thank our police department, our fire department, all our first responders, and the local businesses that have supported Brookhaven during this pandemic. You guys are doing a fantastic job. As a reminder, we're not out of the woods from this whatsoever. I think we hear this on television every 10 minutes, but we need to keep our social distancing and wearing our masks. I said this at the council workshop, I continue to see way too many people gathering together with no mask or keeping their 6-foot distance. I was a witness this morning to this with a gathering around Wawa, drinking their coffee with no mask and social distancing. They could have been, maybe have been 2 to 3 feet away from each other. And we're not going to get through this without their help and our help. So please, everybody who's listening to this, keep your distance, wear your mask. Let's get through this thing. But we want to have a parade going, right? We want to have a parade. We need everybody's help to be able to do this. So that's, I'm going to get off my soapbox for that. But again, reminder to fill out your 2020 census forms. If you did not get one in the mail, you can get one and go online at 2020census.gov. Again, go online, 2020census.gov. It's quick and it's easy. Only takes about 5 minutes to complete. It's safe, it's secure, it's confidential. They won't get any of your information. But anyway, your responses help direct billions of dollars in federal funding our local communities, especially Brookhaven, and for our schools, the roads, and other public services. And I just recently found out they've extended the deadline to submit the census until August 14th. Lastly, I mentioned at the council workshop about the upcoming primary on June 2nd. I mentioned that the municipal center would be closed until at least June 1st. The Election Bureau has stated to us that the primary will go on and that Brookhaven may have to host a location for those wishing to vote in person. Now, in some recent conversation we've had, we know that Our Lady of Charity in the 2nd precinct and the Real Church on the 3rd precinct has agreed to hold the primary election as they have done in the past several years. Only if the protocols and the government restrictions are followed. So we need to have somebody follow those directions there. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we have to do that. Now, I believe we have a meeting later on this week to discuss with both parties a plan for the other 4 precincts, which may or may not be held at the municipal center. But I think we'll have further details on that later this week, in which will keep everybody informed. And lastly, please remember you can still vote by mail by going online at votespa.com and request a mail-in ballot. Candy will send you a ballot, self-addressed envelope, and postage, and just send that back. The deadline to get a ballot is May 26th. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Mr. Mayor, that meeting's 7 o'clock on Thursday, and we might want to consider making that a public meeting just to get some feedback. It's via Zoom. I'll post the link sometime tonight.
Yeah, let's do that. We have to be 100% sure if we're going to have it at the municipal building. We need to have a lot of coverage.
Sure. I'd just like to get some public feedback on that, so we'll post that tonight.
That's the latest of my report.
Go to the council reports, Ms. Sawicki.
Mr. President,
Thank you.
excuse me one minute.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Janice. Go ahead, Denise.
Terry, can you see if Steve Schultz is waiting to be led in the meeting? He got kicked out somehow.
This week, the company became
1 moment. I do not see Steve waiting. I just let in Brian Thomas, who was waiting.
No,
Okay.
It sounds like somebody got a television on.
clothing brand.
Once Janice starts, I'll mute everyone again.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
All right, but I do not see Steve waiting.
Brothers, Neiman Marcus, or J.
Go ahead, Janice.
Okay, everybody has the bills for May, and the total for the general fund is $24,723.13. Sewer fund is $32,577.40. So I'm making a motion that we approve them tonight so the bills can go out this week.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Janice.
Okay, the only other thing I had, I was going to mention for the publics, for them to realize last month we did have a budget meeting because of everything that's going on to make sure that our budget is intact for 2020. And we're going to have another meeting this Wednesday night. So I hope that after we do that, we can put a written report together for the council and put it on the website hopefully this month for the public to let them know our concerns to make sure our revenue matches our expenditures for the year. That's all I have.
We'll get a report together, and we might not need a meeting beyond Wednesday, I don't think, with the amount of cuts and postponements or postponements made. Say that? Can you
No,
hear
I
me?
agree. I agree, but I thought we'd have
So
a little
we can put a
brief
report out.
to put on.
I'll get a report out sometime after Wednesday's meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Thursday,
That's
Friday.
perfect. Thank
All
you.
set, Janice?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leslie?
Good evening, thank you. The only thing I have to report is that the Memorial Day service will be canceled, and I can't remember who suggested to possibly maybe do one of those drive-by parades around Brookhaven.
I was one of those that suggested that.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Several people suggested it.
Yeah.
And
It's a good idea.
two of our veterans involved in our American Legion thought that was also a good idea. So we'll get it together, see which day we're going to do it, and get set up with the fire department, police department, and whoever wants to join in. We'll put it up on Facebook. maybe meet at Coburn and take off from there and go around the borough.
And Mrs. Heller has some additional ideas that she could cover during her piece tonight. If she's
Okay.
ready. I don't want to speak for her. All set?
Other than that, that's all I had to report.
Thank you, Denise. Mr. Pappas? Oh, hold on a minute. I don't know what that noise was. George, you there? Mr. Pappas?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have any reports on my committees that actually met in the past 2 months, 3 months. But I do want to say a thanks to the fire chief and also the fire company. I've had 2 of the drive-arounds for the celebrations. I think one was definitely for a high school. With Chief, I don't know if the second one was down there in the bottom of Hillside. I don't know if that was a birthday party or not. But just a thank you that you're showing the neighborhoods that the fire company's out there and celebrating through these drive-throughs. It was a big turnout for the high school senior on my street here on Hillside. So thanks again, Chief, for that support to the community.
Thanks. We just have to, we're trying to give something back to the people.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's hard times, and people are going through some hard times. A lot of people missing out on some big events. So, just trying to give them a little satisfaction or closure on these events that are coming up.
Now, there was a lot of people smiling in my neighborhood.
Yeah, people are happy. Thanks, George.
Who keeps making that horn noise? All right, don't make me come back there. It's probably you, Sawicki. Mrs. Heller. You guys are hearing that horn, right?
I'm hearing it.
Okay.
I've heard it a couple times.
It's like a text message going to somebody's phone.
From what I hear about Zoom, we could do a whole lot worse, like getting hacked with some odd things. Mrs. Heller, you ready?
Yes. I only have a few things. In reference to the Memorial Day parade, the only suggestion was to add maybe balloons to the mailboxes of the veterans, that this way if they can't participate in the drive-through during the day, anybody that wants to drive by their house can honk or say thank you. So just adding balloons to the veterans' houses and maybe getting a banner for the fire department to actually have on their fire truck. So we can
We'd also have to figure out how to work out the veterans in Hilltop and our apartment complex. We can get together and figure that out.
Mr. President, I have a list of our American Legion members and their addresses.
That's awesome.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. The other thing I have is in reference to the Business Association. They reached out to Councilwoman Fuchs and I that apparently Sun Valley High School is still going forward with their awards ceremony on June 3rd as of right now, and that they are actually going to be nominating 3 seniors in our area to give them scholarships. So I want to thank the Business Association for, again, continuing to give back to our community. As part of the check meeting, we did not have a meeting this month, but I do encourage everyone to go onto our website and add onto the Delco Alert. You get a lot of information if you sign up for it, and it's free. Vaughn talked about the parade committee. He did reach out to Donna and I this past week in reference to the parade committee. I know that one of the suggestions too was there's concern about fundraising, and Donna and I were talking about thinking outside of the box, and Vaughn agreed as well, coming up with different ideas for fundraising in case we can't utilize the Borough Hall. Lastly, I believe the council is meeting later on this week with the consultant, with Roseanne McGrath in reference to her report. So we'll have more on that at our next meeting. Lastly, for the rec board, the only thing that we have is that we finally have 3 quotes now for our backstop. So thank you, Chuck, for getting that. And that the Public Works is continuing to put up the the softball scoreboard. Thank you, Public Works, for doing that, and that's the end of my report.
Mrs. Fuchs. Hold on, let me unmute you. Mrs. Fuchs.
Thank you, Mr. President. The ordinance committee did not meet in April. We will have a Zoom meeting on May 21st to discuss the welcome packet revisions, finalize the animal control ordinance, and begin working on the trash ordinance up one to instill in that ordinance. That committee news, as Mrs. Heller mentioned, if you haven't done so, please register for Delco Alerts. It's on the left side of the main website page. Once you click on that, another page comes up and there's a link in that page. You can easily register for Delco Alerts. They do send out updates for the COVID-19 Delaware County Council meetings, of course, storm alerts, things like that. So it is very beneficial to be part of the Delco Alerts. The rec board information, as everyone knows, everything is on hold right now, and that will affect upcoming events. I will let Mr. Dykes talk about the Concert in the Park series and a cancellation that we now have because of COVID-19. Please follow our Facebook page and our website for event details as they unfold. So Mr. Dykes, do you want to quickly talk about the Concert in the Park series?
Let me unmute him.
I got it. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good.
Much better than last week, Tom.
That's because I'm on my tablet instead of my computer.
There you go.
As of right now, the May concert is canceled. With COVID-19, we don't feel safe having things around. Plus, our entertainment was the school. Northley Middle School was going to provide entertainment with both the jazz band and the steel drum band. We're looking for June for Father's Day weekend, but we're kind of playing that by ear right now, waiting to find out what happens with that. So we're hoping things get better. We can have some concerts in the park. It'd be fun to do.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
I just wanted to wrap up with the community news. As everyone probably has figured out by now, the Providence Animal Center chip vaccination clinic that was originally scheduled for May 19th is canceled. We are working on a date for next spring. And once I know that date, I'll post it on our Facebook page and our website. And we'll make flyers too. That's all of my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Fuchs. Mr. Vasquez.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. Before I start my reports, I just want to let everybody know, in case they did not pick up the spirit, that Brookhaven had an article in the front page of page 2 of the Spirit, basically reinforcing our support for the CWA and how we're trying to urge Tom Wolf to support the CWA as well. So I just wanted to share that with everybody and just, let everybody know that this council supports the CWA and that property. Next thing I also have is to tail on Janice's report for the budget committee. We're really just looking out to be financially responsible for all the residents, especially those with a fixed income coming in. We don't want to be caught with our pants down later on if we don't get our projected numbers coming in for an income for the borough. So we're really looking at everything and trying to be as financially responsible as we can. So we're pushing some things back, not canceling everything or if anything, and just trying to be financially responsible. Now, I did reach out to Mr. Hampton today. He had 114 phone calls for the month. One permit was issued for a swimming pool. For the matter of 123 East Brookhaven Road. The property is now sold and surveyed. All those vehicles there now are for the owner, and that property is starting to look a lot better than what it was. There is also one thing in the works. There's going to be a set of plans for a property on North Street. Jay, Mr. Hampton told me to let you know about this. They're going to reverse subdivide and then re-subdivide to create a more equal property, two property parcels. Vaughn, I just wanted to mention for Swiftwater, I'll make sure that Dave looks into that. I think we might already have a video on it, but I'm not sure. I'll make sure if we do, we'll get it out to the right person and see where we can go from there. And if not, we'll wind up videoing that sanitary line again and correcting the issues. For Public Works, I got a few backlog of reports since they were off and just recently returned to work. So for March's report, there was 4 sanitary calls. The first one was on 4828 Greenwood. The problem was on the homeowner. There was no problem on our end. The second was 4921 Greenwood. Again, the problem was on the homeowner, nothing to do with us. The third one was 3751 Susan Lane. The sewer main was blocked due to grease and roots. We used our machine and cleared the blockage. The fourth one was 123 East Brookhaven Road. The sewer main was blocked due to grease. We used our machine and cleared the blockage. We had some routine maintenance cleaning going on. We televised a line on Susan Lane, found some heavy tree roots in the 3700 block. During March, we went out for a demo on a new sewer machine, which is needed, but it might be getting pushed back due to the possible budget pushbacks and everything. So that's in the works. We just demoed the machine, see how they liked it, see what options were available, and how it can better suit the borough on all our issues that we're having with sewer. There's an installation of 2 new sewer inlets on Edgemont Avenue in the front of McDonald's. I'm sure everybody appreciates that. No more giant hump. We're awaiting 1 more inlet to be repaired there. As for the parks, there's 4 new benches and replaced 2 tops of benches in the dugouts at Memorial Park. They answered 144 PA1 calls. That high number is because of what Pico's project was going on. The first quarter chipping list, as of right now, 34, or as of March, 34 houses were completed. So I also have April's report, which was a little bit more less involved due to them not being there the entire time. There was 2 sewer calls. One was at 3754 Susan Lane. The problem was on the homeowner. And the second was 4307 Mount Vernon. The problem again was on the homeowner. There was 3 backed up toilets that we call Public Works in to handle at the district court. 2 sewer lines were televised, Deepwater and Houston Grandview. Both lines, they found heavy debris in the line, but no breaks at all. The sanitary sewer laterals were fixed at 3425 Janey and 236 Mars by Garjoul. Throughout the borough, the Public Works went out and cleaned the storm sewer grates to make sure we got all the proper flow going in there, no clogs, and all the water's flowing without any obstructions. And as of right now, all the parks are still closed. Hopefully something in the near future will happen. We'll be able to reopen them again. But as of right now, they're closed. The Public Works Department, as Sherry said, will be assisting with installing the scoreboard for softball. And I would have to say that's the end of my report.
Thanks, Hector. Mr. Catania?
Thank you. You have a copy of my written report. Just a couple things I want to highlight is restoration from repairs that were done last year at 141 Trimble and 3408 Nathan had been completed by Garjoul. The water leak at the sewage treatment plant has been repaired by Garjoul. And then Shepherd Street, I see Mr. Garcelli is on the call here. You'd be interested in this. Everything is in order. We finally got the pipeline straightened out, so that's in order. I assume that this will be discussed at the budget meeting on Wednesday night. A couple other things that I would need is on my list. You'll see there's 4 Whiteley Road, 4 4112 North Gray Street, the 2020 street resurfacing, and the sanitary sewer route treatment. I also assume that they'll be discussed at an upcoming budget meeting. There's two actions that need council consideration. The first one is for the Dunkin' Donuts on Edgemont Avenue. We request the council to approve the public improvements escrow in the amount of $46,476 plus $3,873 for inspections.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the second one is the Freddy's Steak Burger. That project has been complete, and they have a request that was submitted to the borough to consider release of the escrow in the amount of $148,405.56.
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Janice.
Okay, I received the paperwork, Chuck, on the urban county qualification for the CDBG for 2021 and 23. The question I had, normally I thought we designated a project that we would submit to the county so we would be, maybe able to get funding. Do we have any ideas, or can we talk about it later? That was my question to Chuck.
Right. The information that you received is basically the county reapplying for participation in the community development block grant program.
Right.
The option is for the borough to join in with the other towns and use the county to administer the program, or if you want to opt out and start your own program, my recommendation would be to stay with the county program. Those applications you're referring to will come out later in the year.
Yeah, because I do want to stay in the program, but I wasn't sure if we were thinking about having a project that these funds could help us pay for. I haven't even thought about it. I just thought, I saw the letter and I thought maybe we could start thinking about it. Because can we still submit a project and use our share of the money for that? They haven't changed the rules.
Yeah, the application period opens later this year. I want to say in the fall of this year,
Okay.
the application generally due in January of the following year.
But we probably should start thinking about what we could do so that we'll have it ready for the fall. Do you think?
I think we can start thinking about it. We certainly have time to be able to come up with something to make the application.
Okay, that was my thought. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
You done, Charles?
Yes, that's all.
Thank you, sir. I have a few quick items before we get into the inspector's report. We do have an exec session tonight, immediately following the council meeting. The topic will be personnel. We have another exec session tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Topic is also personnel. And we have an exec with the budget meeting, the budget committee, I should say, at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm getting a lot of questions about the office opening. There's a lot of complaints about calls not being answered. So I remind everyone that we have 2 employees at Borough Hall. We're down 4 employees right now. And the goal is still to reopen June 1st with social distancing measures in place. But bear with us while we get through this. Again, we are on very, very limited staff. Getting a lot of questions about the parks. Mr. Vasquez covered that. It is my goal to open the parks as soon as possible. We need positive COVID data before we can do that. And last check, we are still averaging right around 100 new cases of COVID in Delaware County every day. Brookhaven has flatlined, but you must remember that our parks are open to anyone from any township, anywhere, any state. So it is not Brookhaven's numbers that drive this. It is Delaware County's numbers for the most part. It's frustrating, but again, we have hit a plateau, it looks like, but that plateau has not started to decline just yet. I get a lot of questions about baseball and softball. Again, I do not have an answer. I'm told by the head of baseball that their cutoff date would be June 1st. They do not start June 1st. They cannot have a season. I assume it is the same for softball. I will get in touch with them. I haven't talked with them in a while. That's my fault. But my guess is that baseball and softball are in jeopardy. So for the first time in our 75-year history, we are in danger of not having a girls softball season. It's unfortunate, but we have, again, no control over that. And I have a hero banner update. The update is no real update on the install. That was supposed to begin mid-April. For obvious reasons, the installer was not allowed to do the work. They were considered non-essential. The banners have been printed and are ready to install. We do also have a number of banners down. Those banners that fell down, I think it's about 25 to 30. They will be installed with the round 3 install. That way we can have the new installer add their warranty to it. We did not get a warranty to the installation with the previous installer, and that is what is holding up those banners being reinstalled. It makes no sense to pay someone to do it or to even have Public Works do it if we can get the work done with a warranty while we already have an installer putting up round 3. I believe that is all I have. Oh, one more, just a reminder, if this persists, if the pandemic persists, this goes out to the committee heads. I would recommend, I know Mrs. Fuchs is going to have the ordinance committee, right, via Zoom? Yes? I would recommend that we all do, say, if this persists beyond, say, another 2 or 3 weeks, before we lose all of our good volunteers. They're hard enough to get. They might have forgot about us, but so keep that in mind, if you will. That's all I have. Mr. Leslie. I don't see Charles.
I'm here.
Oh,
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
President. Good evening, everybody. Glad to see there's no empty seats. Just a couple things. I believe we can resume the inspections. Bobby reached out to me, and we did CVS. We're going to do Walgreens. A couple people have reached out about the permits. They want to come pay for permits. I don't know how we're going to handle that, Mr. President, but a couple people need inspections.
Chuck, we're working up a system where they can either mail in payments or we can use the box that we have installed in the foyer area, that Harry installed in the foyer area to receive payments, and they can work out the cost or the price of the permit with Matt Copple by email or phone. So we will post that and announce that shortly.
Good, thank you. Because a couple people have reached out about permitting, and I told them the borough was closed. They assured me that they would come up and pay eventually, but with that being said, but we're going to resume.
Probably going to open the foyer this week.
Okay.
I'll announce it.
We'll get back to them. I do have their name and numbers for those people, and I will get back to them, and they can come up, see Matt or lead payment and pick up their permitting. Other than that, that's about it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Schultz.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just got a couple things for emergency management. We've been working closely with Chief Curtin, Chief Montella, and Delilah, making sure that we keep track of all the costs of COVID-19 so far. So far, we have a total cost of $9,138.01. We got information.
That was just 5 N95 masks, I'm told.
Yeah, that was all the cleaning materials, mask materials, overtime.
Does that include
anything that would be?
Steve, does that include the recent order, the bulk order of masks that we put in for the?
It includes everything that was reported up to today is that we've ordered. So that's the total of everything that we have ordered so far.
I expected a higher number. That's why I'm asking. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So far, that's everything we have. It puts us above the $3,300 minimum limit that PEMA put out. We've been reporting through the county, and we're on the PEMA list now. So I'm the assigned person communicating with PEMA for the grants. The grants is going to be a pretty long process. Ultimately, the paperwork's going to be due to 30th of September, and it's coming from multiple different sources. I think last time I looked at it, there's about 10 different grants that they're actually pulling the money out of. So we're going to report to PEMA The 7th of this month, I have a meeting with Pima. It's another web meeting, and we're going to get assigned a Pima representative who's the person that we'll be giving our information to, and then they'll be dealing with FEMA for us. There is a good bit of paperwork that's going to have to be signed by yourself, Mr. Mayor. So, and that has to be mailed in. They're not doing it electronically. So I'll get all that paperwork together after the 7th and then communicate with you, drop it off in your box or something for you to then sign it so I can mail it in. So pretty much the biggest thing right now is we're ahead of the curve as far as getting in the grants. We're on the first tier. If we were below $3,300 or we hadn't gotten our information in as quickly as we did, we wouldn't even be able to submit till June. So we are looking good, and we'll have more information after the 7th of this month. So that's all I have for my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Steve. Does anyone else have anything before we go into public discussion? Anyone? Going once, going twice? All right, anyone from public discussion? Hold on, let me unmute y'all before we do that.
Yeah, you're on.
Hello there.
Anyone from public discussion?
John Scarselli. Hello, Cancel. How's everybody doing this evening?
How are you, Mr.
Can you hear me?
Scarselli? Yes, sir, we can hear you.
I'm doing well. Okay, good. So you know we have a project trying to go on here between my property and Mrs. Pino's. So my $1 million question is, when are we going to start this? This has been under discussion for many, many months, maybe a couple of years. In the meantime, I got equipment here on the property, 5 months. I'm gonna start decorating it pretty soon. Anybody answer this question? When is this going to start?
Mr. Catania, explain the increase in cost and the design issues, if you would. And then after you're done, I will get into council's concern with the steep increase in expected cost.
Well, let me say one thing, please. I mean, if there was a problem with cost, why was this equipment put here to begin with? Evidently, the funds are there for this job to go on. I mean, I have an email from Terry Heller.
That's me, yes.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's me. I don't
Okay.
recall emailing you, but go ahead.
Well, I called you today, but you never recalled me back. But I understand that. It's okay. You're busy.
Well, I have a day job also. So
Yes,
I
so what?
was going to call you after the meeting, but go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, call me. We can talk about it. Says here, Chuck and the contractor have to decide when they're going to start this. Well, that tells me the funds are available. So is he doing it tomorrow or next week?
Chuck, let's get into the cost and we'll speak out loud about this. What was the original estimate of the cost of this project?
I don't know.
I'm asking Mr. Catania.
Okay.
The original cost was around $300,000 for the work in the street and for the work in the yards.
Okay, I thought it was closer to mid twos, and the updated cost is $370 if I'm not mistaken.
About around there, yes, that's correct.
And what was the engineering snafu, and what held the project up? Was it the
What held the
turnover of
project up?
engineers, or was it a miscalculation or a malpractice of design?
It was basically, it was coordination with the pipeline. I mean, that's what it came down to.
Okay.
The pipeline had to be physically located. That was a requirement by the pipeline company. And once that was done, it was determined that the original design, we couldn't implement the original design because there was a conflict between the location of the new storm sewer and the actual location of the pipeline. That's been resolved. The increase in cost is that now what happens is we have to go slightly deeper, and the new storm sewer is running right along in the street, right along the curb line. And we expect that when the contractor is excavating to install the new pipe, that curb is actually going to fall in. We're not going to be able to save that curb. So we added that cost into the estimate, which is basically the increase in the cost.
Okay, Mr. Scarselli, when from my standpoint and the budget committee standpoint, when you're in a pandemic like this, like it's something we've never seen, when we're looking for cost savings everywhere, we're going to definitely question an increase in a project of $100,000 plus. So while that was not what held it up initially, that was a more recent discussion that popped up within the last couple of weeks. That I can tell you. But we'll have a further, I will stop down after the meeting and knock on your door afterwards. We'll have a discussion. Just stay 6 feet away.
I was told a month ago, or over a month ago, that we were going to talk about this in your budget meeting. So we're going to talk about it again.
It's my responsibility to be the custodian of taxpayer dollars. If I see something that looks wrong, you're damn right, I'm going to question that. Now, I understand how long this has been going on, but when you have a project of this cost, I am going to question it, especially when you see a steep increase that I did not expect in that cost.
Is this new to you?
Say it again?
This increase, is this new to you? Have you talked about this before in the budget meeting?
In private, we have, yes. Mhm.
Oh, so we're going to talk about this again. How many times are we going to do this?
How many times are we going to do what?
Talk about this.
We're going to talk about it until we understand why the cost went up. It's really that simple. We didn't say that we're stopping the project. We said we wanted, do we not have that right to question that steep increase in cost?
For how much longer is this going to go on?
I can't answer that. I cannot answer that right now.
Well, who can answer that question?
I will get you an answer as soon as possible. That I can tell you.
That's not a good answer to me.
Well,
Can I interject for a second?
Mr. Scarselli, you're talking about almost $400,000.
Correct.
For 3 homes.
Correct.
While I agree that the work is needed.
Correct.
When council, and it's not just me, when council is satisfied with that end number, then we will continue. That could be days, it could be weeks. We will get back to you on that. But I will not allow
equipment parked on my property. If you're not going to use it, please move it. It's a disgrace. I have water building up in these pipes, in these inlets. I got grass, weeds growing all over everything. Stagnant water. I already have enough problem with stagnant water in the back from the swale. Now I got it in the front with all these.
I understand your frustration, and I will stop down after the meeting to speak.
I understand about everything, but nothing's getting done.
If that's the way you feel, then there's nothing I can do to change your mind. I can come down and speak to you in person. That's all I can do.
I would appreciate that. When are we going to make a date?
We have a brief meeting after this meeting, and I will stop down if you don't mind and knock on your door.
Okay, how about Chuck?
Is there anything else? Anyone else from council want to chime in?
Yeah, I'm just going to interject for a second. It's since I've been on council, it has only been talked about officially with the budget committee once, and this will be this isn't just me talking, and then this will be our second time coming up this week. So again, we're not saying we're going to cancel it. We're just looking at it a little bit more thorough. Make sure we have the money to fund this project. I understand it's been a frustration. And I'm right down the street from you. I see the equipment every day. It's an eyesore.
I appreciate what you're saying. But if these funds weren't available 4 months ago, this equipment would be on my property today. You didn't put it here for no reason. It's not a parking lot.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Funds were available. How much, I don't know. Okay, so
well, that's the problem with the increase. There's a certain amount of, with the budget, when you look at it, there's a certain amount slotted for each project. And to be able to take care of the whole borough, when you get possibly $100,000 increase in one area, that takes away from another area that we were also trying to do. So I'm not pinpointing you out, but I am at the same time. We need to take care of the whole borough. And we just need to look at everything as the council and have everybody agree with where we're going to move forward with this.
We're just double talking everybody here.
We're not double talking.
We're just double talking everybody.
We stated our reason.
You know?
We understand your frustration.
Your email to Mrs. Pino says that's for Chuck and the contractor to decide.
First of all, that email was sent to a borough employee from the council president and should not have been shared with you anyway. So I don't see why we have a borough employee sharing a council president's email. I mean, that's poor practice right there.
You
gotta understand, I'm thinking aloud with the borough employee who I know well. it should not be shared with you. I will stop down, and if Mr. Vasquez wants to join me, we will stop down after this meeting and after the next meeting.
I have a question.
I'll join you.
Hold on, I have
I'll
a
meet with you.
question.
Go ahead.
Are we paying for the equipment that is on his property right now?
No,
Are we
there's no- as far as a rental goes, no.
So there's no cost in if we moved it off of his property until the project started?
I'm sure
Mr.
the
Catani could
contract,
probably better answer that. Chuck?
Because my understanding is that's one of the concern is obviously it's an eyesore right now. So what can we do to actually move the equipment off of his property until the project is ready to begin?
Well, they don't want to pay for that to happen.
that's what I was gonna agree with.
Hold on, Chuck. Sir, is there a cost associated and is there another location that we can put that piece of equipment until the project's ready to begin?
I mean, I don't have that answer, but I would doubt that the contractor is going to come back now, take all his equipment and materials that are stored on site, move it someplace, and then bring it back a second time without some cost.
Is it someplace if we moved it very close that is not on an area that's not as part of anybody's property that is close by?
It's still, he has to mobilize a trailer, he has to mobilize a loader or something like that to get this material back on it and out of there.
There's 12 inlets. They're huge things. And there's the tractor and what else is out there?
The bridges.
They're bridges.
It's a very expensive a cost to just move those, Sherry. It's not like it's, a pickup truck and a trailer. You're talking a low bed, then you're gonna need a flatbed to move all your inlets
Yeah,
and
you have the padding and
everything else.
All right, let's move on from that to the next point regarding the project. Hector, let's stop down and see Mr. Scarselli after our exec session, and we'll talk it out and see what we can do.
Okay.
Yes, I'll gladly stop down and talk to you.
Okay, I'll see you then.
Very well.
Thank you.
You're looking around 9:30, sir.
I'll be here.
Anyone else for public discussion? Mr. Dykes, no? Hold on, Tom, you're muted.
Nothing, thank you.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
make the motion. I'll second.
You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Keep in mind that the workshop, I believe, is in 2 weeks because the fourth Monday falls on Memorial Day. So see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.